Haitian in America. What does it mean to be Haitian in America? And we got a handful of people who are up here, so let's put our hands together for them. 15 degrees outside and they still made it, right? So, and you all as well, you deserve an applause as well for making it out today. But we're going to give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves, but we do have someone that's up front here, Sister Benji. She is here as well to make sure that our panelists stay within 2 minutes. We're giving each of them 2 minutes to answer some of these questions. By chaque 2 minutes pour répondre aux questions. Nous avons C. Benji qui là, qui a aidé nous pour make sure pas qu'il y ait qui trop long devant. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We have a few people here that we're going to introduce very quickly. Fred Nicolas, artiste. We also have Sister Lucy Antoine. We have Fred Edinson Kajus. We have Sister Fabiola Romain. And then we have our very own president of the Youth and Young Adult Committee, Sister Carleen Antoine. She's sitting in for Sister Cassandra Joseph that ran into some challenges tonight. So if she does show up, Sister Carleen will step out. So what we're going to do, we're going to give each of the panelists, and we're going to start off with Fred Edinson Kajis. We're going to give them 2 minutes. That by chaque 2 minutes. And what we want you to do is just identify. How do you identify yourself? Well, just introduce yourself. So I'm going to give you an opportunity. Go ahead, introduce yourself. You got about 2 minutes. Let everybody know who you are. When did you come here in America, and anything else that you want to share with the folks that are in front of you.
Hey everyone, how you guys doing?
Good.
So I'm Edinson Kajusti. I migrated here in the United States at age 17, so I came here with my parents. We all came here together. I came at 17 years old. When I came here, it was really hard, the language, communicating and stuff like that, and it was really hard, the weather as well. And I came here, I was in high school, so I was a sophomore when I came here, and I completed my high school here. And after that I went to college. I went to Essex County College, spent 3 years, then it was a long story, and I went to Ramapo, then I went back to Essex, got another associate degree, then now I'm at Rutgers University, and I'm majoring in supply chain management. I'm a senior, and I should be graduating this May, so I thank God. I'm a long way, and I just thank God. That's pretty much for me.
Very good.
Well, my name is Juka Atis. Well, first of all, I'm married. And my beautiful wife, Mishu, in the back. I have 4 kids. I believe 3 of them are here. I see Michelle. Oh, no, I see Michelle and Julian. I thought I saw David earlier. I can't see where he is. Right? And Patrick. Patrick's not here. He's busy studying. Well, I thank God for them. Thank God for them. Well, I came here in 1982. I was 19, and you know, I still don't like the cold either. Still wrestle with it. So I went to college, graduated from New Jersey Institute of Technology, a degree in chemical engineering. Attended University of Pennsylvania for a degree in management of technology. But a few years ago, I wanted to continue further, but I thought really what I really love to do is learn the Word of God. So I am enrolled right now in a pursuit of a degree in a Bible at Cairn University. So it's been a pleasure really coming to America and as a Haitian to contribute to really promote that Haitians can come here and engage into this culture and impact as much as possible, and also be the work of God and serving in whatever endeavor that the Lord has opened for us. So thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Hello everyone. God is good all the time. Okay, my name is Shirley C. Everybody knows Shirley C. And for Shirley C is for the family, but my name is Gertrude. Gertrude Antoine. If you're asking for me in my professional way or social outside of the church, it's going to be Gertrude. I am married, but no children. But I am a mother of many. I have a lot of kids. I am so happy to be here tonight. I've been in the church for over 30 years. I've been living in America for over 30 years. Like my brother declared, I came here when I was 19, so I did all my education in Haiti. So coming in here was like a challenge for me also. Basically because I was the first one in my family to be here. I didn't have a mother or father who was paving the way for me, so it was difficult. But I started there, and ever since, God never leave me. And to God, I did so many things. I am very happily married, and I love God. I'm serving Him too, all the way through. And I am a registered nurse. I love what I do. I take care of people. And mostly, I love to be part of the church family. I'm here tonight because it's a great cause. I can share my experiences, what I did and how I did it, and the cultural barrier for me coming to America, the differences we all went through it, and how we cope with it. And I hope by sharing tonight, we can help each other. We can help the future generation, the coming church, because as parents, we need to have a way to connect with the children, because we say, you guys are the church tomorrow, and we feel that we're losing something in a way. So I think the goal tonight will be for me to know after we get out of here that we all have an understanding of what it means to be Haitian, Christian, and Mount Olive Church. And that's what I hope that we get. The parents can understand the children can understand the parents. If you don't know where you came from, it's going to be very difficult to know where you want to go. So know where you came from, where your family came from, and that will be a start. May God bless you all.
My name is Hans Jean-Francois, 22 years old. Oh, speak up? My name is Hans Jean-Francois, I'm 22 years old. I was born here in 1993. I'm from a town called Lake Hiawatha. I never heard of it, but that's fine. But I went to school, high school, I went to Parsippany High School. Lake Hiawatha is in a town called Parsippany. It's a pretty diverse place. After there, I went to Rutgers University. I just graduated like this past summer, and I majored in sport management, and I minored in Africana studies. I guess with like this event today, it's very important because it's just like a bridging of like certain gaps, whether it's like mindsets, cultures, like languages. Events like this, like even in this small capacity, could like help bridge those gaps and like break those walls that, like bring like that have generations like that keep them stuck from like bonding and finding that common goal. So yeah.
Hi, my name is Fabiola Romaine. I am a first generation Haitian American, born in 1990. Please don't do the math. I was born in Orange, New Jersey. We then moved to West Orange. I graduated from West Orange High School, followed by Montclair State University, graduated with business administration, concentration in marketing. Currently, I am working at Hearst Magazines as an advertising services coordinator. And I am also, just like Hans on this panel, thinking that this is a really great opportunity to bridge the gap between Haitian Americans and the Haitian-born Haitians. And I think it's really important to understand where the language, Creole, is going and where it is now.
Hi everybody, my name is Carlene Antoine. I am also Haitian American, born in America. I am close to 30. If I say I'm close to 30, then you won't really know how close. But I'm close to 30. And by all means, I consider myself Haitian American, even though I was born here. And it's funny, the conversations that I've gotten into at work, and even with some people here at church, about what makes you Haitian. Do you get to call yourself Haitian American? Which is why I appreciate being able to do this tonight. I think it's something that's very important for us to be able to discuss as a church family. Gamun Putimun, something that we need to be able to talk about openly and honestly. And then it's something that we talk about it here in church, and you go home and you talk about it with your kids, with your mama, with your dad, and a conversation that we get to keep having. I went to school for education. I'm not working in the field right now. I'm actually working in business. But I thank God for opening doors. I thank God for the doors that He'll continue to open, and I'm looking forward to discussion tonight.
All right. Very good, very good. So we're going to run right into the questions
The
here.
value of education and the value of striving as much as you can in this life to achieve whatever God has set in store for you. And I'm really thankful that I have had that, and that it carried me through many difficulties. And now as a father, having 4 children, I really value the sense of togetherness that I learned in my upbringing, that my parents have instilled in me. So, these are some of the things that that I have learned, and I really would like them to continue. And I'd like to have my children also learn those things, so that they in turn can instill them into their own children.
I think some of the Haitian or culture aspects that we need to hold on to, really funny, but I think Haitian remedies is something that we need to hold on to, because I know there's some teas that my mom made, the Reed basket tea, like these things are really falling apart, and they're falling off. Like sometimes I'll go to work and someone's like, oh yeah, my back hurt, I went to the doctor. I'm like, you don't need that, you need some Reed basket tea. Some Haitian teas, like these things that our Haitian parents are doing, like we really don't know what they are. Like I can't tell you what my mom does when I'm sick, but it works, and I think that if we let these go, then we're really not gonna, carry on the Haitian culture.
Yeah, I also think we need to, I think we're losing it, and I do not want us to lose it. Respect for the elders, and say hello to your elders, how to greet them. And I think by not doing that, we're losing on the communication part of it. Because in Haiti, it doesn't matter, when you see somebody, you respect them, even if they're not your aunt by blood. Everybody is auntie, everybody is, and even I'm grown up, that stays with me. I call everybody mommy, auntie. Sometimes I explain it's a term, but it's a kind of respect. And we see today that the children, they're passing by in the church, they don't see you. They're going around. That's why I try to say hello to everybody. But for the children, mostly, that when they're passing through and then, oh, it's like you don't exist, that hurts. And if you want to be able to communicate with your parents, your elders, the first thing is to try to say, hi, mommy, how you doing? Because some of you do it. Some of them, the one who do it, we keep communicating with each other. But the one who don't do it, it makes it so difficult for us. Like when the kids pass by and they don't say hello. And in Haiti, you can do that. In Haiti, your parents say you have to say hello to everybody. You have to greet people with respect. And we don't want to lose that. That's a good thing that we should not lose. Because you can't lose anything by being nice and respectful. You can gain by it. So I hope you say that.
All right, so the next question, because I definitely wanted to expand on that, but you spoke to it, because there are a lot of parents today. If you look at the question, so I've got a QTI here. You said something that was very, very impactful in terms of greeting. Saluer, adieu. Mais il y a un peu de parents qui pas encourager ça. And you'll find it not just in the Haitian community, but you'll find it in the Hispanic community. Because if you look at anyone that's from South America, the Caribbean, they have a tendency of, they have salio, you're toujours bawakulad, or they give you a kiss, right? They kiss their elders. But you have parents today that discourage their kids from doing that, right? From kissing an adult, right? So do you think that is the responsibility of the parent to teach the child, or is this something that the child is supposed to go to the library?
But that's where it's wrong. If depuis là au petit ou te montré au ça, il pas besoin de temps c'est où pour dire au faire. Cela veut dire que tout ça nous besoin de faire, nous devons commencer tout petit. Et pour dire et parents ti monde qui gagne grand-mère, grand-père qui vivent dans Calais, nous voulons chercher grand monde Haïti, nous quitter dans Calais. Nous pas connaître comment sont blessés petit monde yo. Sont blessés parce que ti monde yo interact avec monde ça yo et grand monde ça yo toujours dire ti monde bonjour, dit that. Some of them nous lever dans le travail, nous laver en côté, yo pas de chance pour yo learn. But they will get parents dans Calais son avantage. We have the parents. Tout ça ti monde yo bail, c'est son reflet de ça yo prend la caille. I'm sorry to say.
Right. Okay. Here's the next question. Next question is there anything when it comes to the Haitian culture that it's okay to let go? Est-ce qu'il y a un bail qui QT haïtien qui est ok qui nous a quitté in America?
I believe this is a really good question. Especially me when I first came to the United States. It was really hard for me to communicate with people, and back in Haiti, I'm born in Haiti, right? So when I came here, it was really hard because back in Haiti, when I'm talking to the government, you can't look at them in the eye. So now if you're talking to them and you're looking at them in the eye, it's like a sign of disrespect, so you can't do that. So it was really something that I struggled with. Especially like me being in a business school at Rutgers, and you can't just, so it's something that I really struggled with. And just me talking to my parents when we came here and just talking to them and just looking at them in the eyes, something that they always said, okay, you're being disrespectful, So I think this is something that to let go. And I think just letting this go and really, just practicing that, and communicating with people and just just look eye contact, right? I think this is something that we should practice more, especially when we migrate from Haiti coming to the United States. That's something we should really change, as Haitians.
So I'm going to ask you a question. That's a good point. Let's put our hands together for that point. That's a good point there. But here's a question for you. What impact did it have on you? Not being able to, what impact did it have outside of your home, right? So we understand the whole point here. I think up until now, you don't look at your parents in there, right? You still kind of put your head down. But what impact has it had on your entire life, your social life?
Not really my social life, but I jumped to school-wise, in terms of a presentation, right? So it was really hard for me to stand, in front of class and do a presentation. So it's something I really struggled with. I think when the Haitians come here, we're all Haitian, but when they migrate here from Haiti to the United States at a certain age, I feel like they should, try to work on that. Just have people, and make them understand this is something that they need to change.
So bagadem le mon Haiti, mais l'obéi si tout est gagné.
In terms of just to help them, in terms of when they're in school, because a lot of times, we get scared, Haitians that actually come here, they struggle a lot with that. I struggle a lot, So,
Self-esteem?
Yes, self-esteem.
Something like that.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? What should we let go?
I agree with my brother here. I have to say, I've said that to a lot of people, and some of you may see me standing up and preach here. I was always a very shy person, and when I tell even my wife that it's the gospel of Christ that broke the chain for me, some people don't understand that, but I do agree with you. Speaking in public, looking at somebody in the eye and all that was always an issue for me. But I will touch on some a different aspect of what I think we ought to live, and I probably address some of the adult, the parents more on that. Ça me croit que nous devons quitter derrière. Et c'est un bagage en tant que moi, en tant que parent, là moi venu ici à éduquer ti moun moi que nous t'a quitté, doit quitter ça derrière tout que nous t'ai apprendre en Haïti. problème non c'est que nous lever en Haïti en pile fois et pas dit tout parents même moi observer ça en pile en Haïti, c'est que parents pas réellement bail ti moun yo bail ti moun yo gen valeur dans cœur yo mais yo pas exprimer valeur là bail ti moun yo. Au contraire, si parents gen tendance si que li exprimer valeur là bail ti moun pour ti moun entendre et comme si ti moun ça va venir comme si là quoi dans tête li trop ou bien yo penser que yo ka perdu yo bagay nan ti moun nan si yo fait ti moun nan connaît que ou gen valeur pour moi-même moi remè en pile donc ou pas ou gen ça en pile du tout la caille parents haïtiens pour exprimer valeur ba ti moun affection ba ti moun c'est un bagay que moi te vinn à pas prendre dans ta la caille pas moi pour moi faire avec ti moun on est obligé faire effort parce que pas habitué ensemble avec bagay ça. Donc c'est un bagay que li important et surtout les vétimouns en culture ici aux États-Unis en tant que parents si on pas exprimer ba yo tout le temps ba comme si là pour dolo te timoun non Jean pile parents américain fait c'est pas ça du tout mais exprimer timoun que réellement la caille ou apprécier li ou remeni et timoun nan gen valeur pour même c'est un bagage qui allait loin pour aider timoun ça pour être capable de lever avec confidence. Donc ça c'est un bagage que moi t'as aimé ouais plus faire la caille nous-mêmes parents haïtiens.
Also, nda vle fè parents qui la yo aswe a connaître tout. Des fois, il est bon pour nous ta willing to share. Nous et dans la culture nous kembe autorité à trop. Tellement nous kembe trop, li on backfire. Nous réellement pas passer un petit temps pour nous parler à Timounio. Et des fois, si on n'a pas la monde dehors, mais pas parler à monde la caille. That's wrong. Si Timounio pas traverser pour que lui trouver ton autorité nous te levé avec Haïti, bâton de fer là nous te levé l'entrée quand moi montré aux États-Unis, il veut que pas faire une expérience personnelle, même penser toutes my peers, c'est ça que pour faire, c'est comme si nous a dit qu'ébé ça bon, jeter ça pas bon. Nous-mêmes, tout en tant que parents qui fait petit monde dans le système, nous devons qu'ébé ça bon, jeter ça pas bon. Parce que dans le télé Haïti, nous devons le faire, il y a un pile de bagages qui pas bon. Il y a un qui bon, comme on dit, nous, greeting, respect, tout ça. Mais qu'ébé on avec l'autorité, comme si on n'a pas la parole, les petits gens n'ont pas parlé. I don't want to hear. On n'a pas besoin d'entendre, on peut entendre. So les balles dans la rue, dans le bouchon de monde, ou attendez. Parce qu'on n'a pas de chita, attendez. Nous devons jeter parti ça pour nous embrasser la communication à Timounio. Parce que la communication c'est clé.
Yeah. I can add to that. Certain things that I think that we should drop as Haitians is, don't get mad at me, is certain disciplines. Because now we're living in a world where like this is very, very important. So like certain disciplines I used to use in Haiti, I don't know if we can use them here. But there's also a different alternative. Wrong. You can speak to them. Like I do believe in discipline. Don't say that I don't. I do believe in discipline. But there are things that you shouldn't do because of the world that we live in today. That's all I'm saying.
And I know you're all looking at Duke when I've got it. She doesn't have the ball game team on the field. Right? So how important do you think it is for your children to learn how to speak freely?
Basically, like me personally, like growing up when I first started school and everything, my parents would try to teach me Creole at first, and then I guess basically what was going on is like when I went to school, I couldn't learn English, so it was like a barrier. Like I was like writing in Creole, like it was like everything I was saying. So I guess like I probably didn't have that many friends like when I was like so like eventually like they had to like stop in order for me to like learn the language. So I guess now like me like I have like tremendous difficulty with Creole, like understanding it and speaking it, like so I think it's like with like learning like keeping the language and everything like that, I think it's just like learning how to like I guess it turned into like a fear, like oh he's not gonna be able to do this if I keep doing this. I think it's just like being able to teach your kids both and let them understand the importance of both, because like everything that we're talking about today, like culturally, like language-wise, like it's like, oh, is this like, can we bring this to America or anything like that? But if you really think about like American culture, like there's nothing in American culture that's like American, like from food to fashion to art or anything. Everything in American culture is inspired by outside worlds. So it's like, of course, like why wouldn't you want your kids bringing in like your culture, your language, or anything? I think it's just learning. It's just trying to figure out like how you learn it and everything like that. So.
So I'm going to add to that, right? Because I know everyone has a response to this one, how important it is for your children to learn how to speak Creole. But I think it was President Aristide, right? President Aristide that said something that President Aristide spoke, I think he spoke a total of what, 7 or 8 different languages. And he said that at the age of 5, there are 1 million electrons communicating with another 1 million electrons in a child's brain. And the child at the age of 5 can learn 5 or 6 different languages. And that's when you're supposed to start inserting information into the child's brain, because at that point in time, as you get older, you begin to lose your brain cells, right? So again, I know that's something that a lot of folks are challenged with. If you speak another language when you're young, you'll be confused at school as well. So again, going back to the question, how important it is for your children to speak Creole.
I guess I've had some experience already. I would say that my experience has been, it wasn't the best, because my kids still struggle with speaking Creole. I was one that really fell into that fear, because we started teaching our oldest when he was born French and Creole, and he was picking up that until he started school. And when he started school, and we were in South Jersey all by ourselves, no other grandmother or whatever, home to help teach Creole. And there we were, we at that time needed to really do something, because the experts at that time were telling us, well, the kid's confused, you gotta do something, and so on. So we did what we were supposed to do. We thought that we have to teach the child how to speak English so they can function in the society. Well, I have learned later on that, you should have continued, because the kid would have ended up speaking, the many languages that you would teach the child. But we didn't know. We were very young parents for our first kid. Nobody to really instruct us any other way. So we did the best we thought we could do. But like I say, I believe it is important. I believe it's important to immerse our children into our culture. Yes, they did not pick up the language, but I think I don't want to speak for them, but from their reaction and so on, I've been taking them to Haiti several times. Connecting with the people of Haiti, it seems to me that they are developing a bond, and some of them are trying to learn the language and making very good effort right now. So I would encourage you, if you can, to still go ahead and teach your kid the language, the Creole language, as much as possible.
And we're going to give it to Sister Lucy, but Gertrude, Sister Gertrude outside of Moniz Olivier, right? But for Freddie,
dans nos cultures, nous sortis, nous venons tomber dans l'autre qui est totalement différent. Et ti moun nou yo identifié yo avec culture ça que nous-mêmes parents haïtiens nous pas identifié nous à culture ça. Gen mœurs, gen pratique, gen tout bagay ça qui est différent. Donc lorsque vous faites face avec dilemme ça, en tant que parent, ou par contre comment réellement pour faire face avec lui-même. The thing is that the parents understand something, the child understands some other thing, and communicating is really difficult, and it's really a clash of culture. Even the definition of culture itself, so what is culture? Culture is an effort to bring coherence coherence into a lot of different things. Coherence in language, coherence in the food you eat, coherence in the practices and whatever else that you do. Well, when you have Haitians that have their own culture, you cohere in one way, and then you have the American culture, you have different, focus towards a different side of coherence. So you don't get together. And it's really the challenge to always communicate and trying to understand where your kids are coming from. It is more of the parents to try to see where the kid's coming from, because you understand the problem more than the child to try to see where the parent's coming from. The child doesn't have that maturity yet to try to make that, to draw that bridge, so to speak. So that is a parent's effort to try to bridge the gap, to go where your kids are, why your kids are having difficulties that they have, to try to reach them where they are. That is very, very, very difficult. And in my experience,
culture ça gagne dans le pays pour envelopper, embrasser un support système. Côté que l'on voulait perdre dans petit monde voulait comprendre les cas, faut perdre sur route là, mais pour faire toujours faire le bon smart. C'est ça que tu fais et que vous avez capacité pour prendre help. Pas quitter petit monde jouer parce que mine réaliser en petit monde jouer dans incompétence parents, dans challenge que parents rencontrent, dans petit monde doit aller à l'école. Il y a un semestre à $1000, $500, because ils n'ont pas de faculté pour find out. So, m'encourage nous chercher aide. Don't be proud, papa, pas camper, non. Papa américain, ouais, tout ça, ouais, comment quelqu'un m'a fait comme. Tandis qu'à ici, monsieur l'a mourir, pas prendre, ou tu me même sur ta balle, on doit pas prendre boire. C'est parce que nous devons suspendre quitter orgueil, nous prend le mieux de nous, nos besoins aide demander. Et que ça y a trop de monde qui a aidé nous, sinon, si nous faisons petit monde, c'est tellement beau comprendre bagaille, dis-moi qu'on comprenne, comment on comprend ça. Mais ça peut-être la vie, dit, on comprend c'est vrai. Et puis on va find out ça vérité. Il y a un professeur là, il y a tout le monde qui a une réponse sur là. Nous souhaitons pour nous chercher help, ok?
Obviously, Bogo Festival, but I would believe that the experience that my parents had, what I believe was difficult for them, and God bless them, I appreciate that my parents tried as hard as they did. But I imagine a problem that a parent born in Haiti that comes to America, raising kids born in America, the issue is, like the question was asked, how much of my culture do I need to keep? And how much of the things I need to recognize are bad that I don't need to enforce? Or maybe it might not even be bad, but is this a tradition that's worth enforcing on my kid that my kid won't understand? So the difficulty is figuring out the line. How much of this needs to stay? How much of it is worth enforcing? Our sister said the idea of discipline, and that's something that you enforce. That's something that you keep. But then it's how do I adjust here in a way that's beneficial? Si par exemple, do certain things, but certain things that our parents did back home, is that going to be the most effective way to get to my kids that's born here that knows this culture? Because some of the things, they work perfectly in Haiti, but they're not going to work here because the culture is completely different. They don't have the same understanding. So the idea of how we discipline, the cultures that we transfer, the difficulty is, and I think, as we say pride isn't always a bad thing. Pride can be a beautiful thing. As a matter of fact, we're supposed to have a certain level of pride. You want your kids, when you're raising them, be proud of yourself. My nieces and nephews, I want them to be proud of themselves. But if your pride stops you from doing what's right, if your pride stops you from being able to raise your child in a way that's effective, that, I imagine, is a big difficulty.
All right, good answer. So we're going to switch gears. D'abord, jeune qui fait ici, on chance pour qu'elle réponde parce que nous fait parler, on chance pour répondre qui était okay pour raising a child that was born here in the U.S. Here's a question for those of you who are born here, right? What do you believe is the biggest difficulty as an American child born to Haitian parents? Qui ça faut penser qui the biggest difficulty, plus grande difficulté comment petit monde qui fait ici qui des parents qui sont en Haïti? What's the biggest challenge for you as an American born to Haitian parents?
Alright, so I guess it's like especially when you're younger, like you're in the house more. Like I guess this is like pre-college, really like college. You're not really in the house as much, but it's I guess because like culturally there's a divide that gets set already between like Haitian culture and American culture, in the sense that like you could like go to school, like you go through 9 periods of classes with all these different types of kids, and then you come home and then like you hear, it's crazy because, and then you hear like the phrase like Black American, and you never like to me like that hearing that like kind of never like really made sense, and I get it in a way, and I get what they're trying to like articulate and stuff in a sense, but in another sense is like if I don't tell these kids like what my culture is, if no one of my complexion says what their specific culture is, like we're all black in a sense, right? Like I can get harassed by police in the same way that another black kid gets harassed by police. So like that aspect of like Black American, it creates like a cultural divide, and like you have that at home where it's like they have this culture, they think like this American culture is like very bad in a sense. It's like they make these worlds like black and white, like good and bad, but in a sense, there's a bad part of every culture, there's a good part of every culture, you know what I mean? I think we just have to focus on the positives, and I think that's where, like, it makes it easier within the Haitian community to adapt, and then it makes it easier for there, like, to be a willingness to adapt.
I think a difficulty for a child born in America, and I think if we're realistic, the difficulty changes with age. Because when you're a little kid and your parents are born in America, you're here, your parents are born in Haiti, you're here in America, sometimes you feel bad because mommy doesn't come to all of the things that we do in school because mommy's not comfortable. Or daddy's not comfortable, or I'm not going to like what daddy has to say because he talks funny, right? It's not as ignorant as it is. It's a concern depending on the age. The older you get, you become a little bit more aware and more conscious of different things. But I would say difficulty even after having grown up is trying to express how much some things are really just about culture. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but the culture is different. And I imagine it's difficult for both sides. And it's going to be a discussion that we keep having. But it's, God, I believe culture is something that comes from God. God, He put us in different places for a reason. So I don't believe that we can say one thing. I'll just leave it at that. I think that the difficulty is being able to express, no, mommy, this is what it means here. And then in all fairness, I think another honesty is having been born here, trying to understand, but not just my American blinders, right? Because I don't want to be ignorant to stuff that's outside. And it's not stuff that there's stuff that I don't understand until I get older. There's stuff that I realize, wait, that's why mommy said that, right? So those two things hand in hand. Difficulty is trying to get mom and dad to understand. This is really just because of your culture. And then me, on my end, is understanding, wait, some of that stuff, not all of it, but some of that stuff is more than just the culture. And it's stuff that I can't just think about because
When we say Haiti, some of you have had the opportunity to go to Haiti. You know, if you don't know get choses pour en Haïti déjà. Some of you haven't been to Haiti. But when we say Haiti, or someone says, describe Haiti for me, how would you describe Haiti?
I would describe Haiti as a very, very late developing country because I wasn't around when it was developed. So in my eyes, Haiti is something that hasn't developed yet. And I've been to Haiti twice. I've been to Haiti in 1995 and 2009. And from 2009, obviously, was when I would remember what it looked like. It looked like a city or a country that was 20 years behind where we are now. So I would say it was a really late developing country.
So when I went to Haiti, I was like around 9 years old, and it was just like a real shock because you go from like being home here, everything just seems so regular, and then you go there, like I had to like, go to the bathroom outside in the hole, like outside in the backyard, and it's like this is crazy to me. You have like I'm playing a soccer game with like kids, and I'm the only kid with a pair of sneakers on. So it's like I think going there at that young of an age was like, vital because I come back and I realize like at a very young age that like 75% of things that we complain about and it's just like not as bad as it is, and that's where you get your things, your jokes like first world problems and things like that. So, but yeah, I guess seeing that different world kind of humbled me in a sense, and then was able to understand like when your parents talk about like struggle and stuff like that's like a real struggle, you know, not just not getting a car anymore, you know.
So you want to repeat the question? You want me to repeat it for yourself, or do you want me to repeat it for the audience?
For everybody.
All right. So, if someone asks you to describe Haiti, being that you were born here in the United States, I don't know if you had an opportunity to go to Haiti yet. Have you? No. Okay. Perfect. So if we ask you, if someone asks you, hey, describe votre description de Haïti. Qui a été discussion d'abord des pays ça qui est pas mon papa de fait.
Obviously, I heard the question, but I was buying time. My teacher once, and women says like, who's never been to Haiti, but it's definitely I feel like every time it's something that I would like to do in my family, an opportunity comes up or something happens or there's a situation going on in Haiti, they say now's not the time that you can't go. So I pray to God that sometime in the near future it's something that I do get a chance to do. But when I think about Haiti, it's not until recently, I think it's maybe around after the earthquake, that I started hearing people say things like, no, they're really still really beautiful parts in Haiti. Like I know the things that my family used to say. They said when we were little, the country was beautiful, things like that. Now it's not the same. So in my mind for a really long time, it was a country that just, we praying for them. When I come to church on Wednesday night, we just keep praying for them, right? But then I get a chance to hear from other people, especially when young people come over and they tell you about there are still beautiful things there. It is when I get to hear all these different testimonies about the country, that kind of helps me to paint a picture of it is a struggling country, but say for the grace of God, there is still beauty there. There are still things there worth holding on to, worth instilling in our children, even worth promoting. I think that's something that we don't do. We don't promote the beautiful things. We talk a lot about the ugly things. We have ugly things everywhere. Even in America, we see them. We talk a lot about the ugly things. But if we make more of an effort, especially because, like somebody who's never been to Haiti, we need to hear more about the beautiful things.
Very good, very good. And the reason you asked me that, let's put our hands together. The reason why Sister Carlene asked me to repeat the question is because she saw where I was going with it, right? So we're not going to do back by Mondi Saki Fet en Haïti en chance pour répondre déjà. We're not going to give you that chance. It's going to be a bit different. You're going to talk about Pétionville, Belleville, and all those other places, right? The beauty of Haiti, right? So the question for you, question que nous gagnons pour là où en Haïti, you te dit que vous avez ici, right? How did they describe the United States to you? And what's the difference? Qui a été description des États-Unis et l'on vit là, est-ce que tu matché avec la description qui est de
I mean, the way people usually describe it in Haiti, they pretty much talk about it like as paradise, like, you know, money, gold, but when you actually, you know, come here in the United States and you just realize it's something totally different. But just me coming here, personally, I just felt like it was just a good thing to me. And I just couldn't wait to come for that personal reason. And I tell you guys, I almost got kidnapped in Haiti, and I could have been dead. But I'm here right now, it's by the grace of God. Alright, and I was 14 years old, and I was on my way to school. I was supposed to take this exam. It's usually no one in I was in France, this in quatrième, et puis était nos machines. And then they go over and have the protocol, and then taking a money to the exam, and then you have the exam somewhere with chauffeur. So thank God I ran, and I'm here now. There's that. But just me coming here, I was so traumatized that I just never have the urge to, you know, having need to just go back. But this is me.
You want me to ask the question again, or you can?
No, I thought Gina was going first. Yeah, for me, I came here in 1983. It was a culture shock. Because dans Haïti, on connaît ou pas l'Europe, l'autre bord, pour commencer dans le salon d'abord, l'autre Haïti, on a quitté le pays, il y a des gens qui ne pas les mêmes gens qu'on est. Ils ont fini d'arriver, et il a dit, quand les petits toi, quand dit maman, quand les petits fous là, oh, il est appelé, il a dit d'aller, parce que on laisse aller à tellement en blessing, et que, you know, c'est moi le premier parti, je suis rentré, je suis ma tante là, je suis rentré ici parce que j'ai fini l'école, moi, je suis dans philo, que je suis parti. Ça veut dire que je suis un petit monde qui juste évité l'école, parce que je travaille dans le pays, rien. Comme ça, toute expérience, moi, je fait ici. Mais alors, je sens que son blessing, non, oui, parce que je dis que son monde qui est well-rounded. J'ai une éducation haïtienne, et puis je suis venu ici, je prends un petit calvaire, je mets sous lit, ça veut dire que je comprendre. Quand je sortis, je comprendre ce que là, je comprendre côté je aller. Mais at the same time, les vignes déploient un pile sagesse pour nous capable de connaître ça, pour nous prendre ça, pour nous quitter. Et là, on dit que le pays a tel gens, mais étant donné que je ne suis pas sorti dans le pays naïf, je ne sais pas tout ça, on dit, je suis fait, ça me joindre avec plus de courage, je connais me lever, je connais me moyen. Je connais forme de travail dur, je connais forme éventuellement un jour comme dans l'école. Et bon Dieu t'a fait avec grâce, mon Dieu, et je connais tout. Les montées ici, je me puis mon Dieu. C'est ça que je dis, si je me perds dans la rue, c'est grâce à mon Dieu. J'ai une chance de retourner dans le pays et quoi que ça me de retourner en 89, fait 2 ans l'autre à cause des papiers. Le pays a still pas dans l'état lié qu'on y a. Ça veut dire que depuis les femmes pas tourner, et c'est avec peine, avec un pile peine, m'a regardé comment le pays a venu. Mais en toute fois, toujours qu'on ait gain espoir au pays. Le pays ici que nous avons en pile bagarre la donne et nous apprenons prendre ça bon, quitter ça pas bon. Il n'y a pas d'autres opportunités. Jean nous au pays Haïti a dégradé, c'est parce que dégradation sortie depuis le pays ici. Ça veut dire que le pays a vu plus ici et il vit plus Haïti. So, de ce fait, tout le monde a mis le bonheur pas fait, il va de ce monde. Et il est dans le ciel à la roquette.
Ok, avant que je m'entre la question, ça m'a fait toucher sur l'autre pour si vous permettez.
Non, pas qu'à toucher sur l'autre.
Non, pas en pile, vous avez raison.
Vous pas qu'à parler de beauté Haïti.
Non, il va de beauté Haïti. Il va parler de beauté Haïti. Et seulement, je vais faire comprendre que gagnent parents haïtiens que je parle avec eux. Pour les gens qui parlent négativement de Haïti devant tout le monde qui a grandi ici. Ou quoi demander des amis qu'on ne va jamais été pris en Haïti, à parler mal de Haïti, alors que moi j'ai une chance d'aller avec Timoun en Haïti. Bon, si je dis que je vais m'amener en Haïti, je vais aller. Parce que en Haïti, vous montrez au côté pays. Nous passons côté ça, nous connaissons, mais nous allons de l'autre côté tout en Haïti, que nous avons intérêt et quand il est là, mandez là, il s'achète à mandez pour nous Haïti à bien content depuis nous avons l'école. Mais le point, là, pour venir ici, nous sommes j'étais gagné, qui était Dieu en pile. Monsieur était ici et toute la ville fait un voyage, il vient à Caragon, il vient à Canoan et puis il connaît nous des plans pour nous venir. Et puis tout le monde, là nous arrivons aux États-Unis, c'est belle bagarre, il paraît sous tête frigidaire nous on gagné la carrière. Il dit ouais, d'eau frigidaire ça, il dit toute route aux États-Unis pour ça. Et puis là où je suis venu ici, sortir Kennedy Airport pour me passer à Atlantique, c'est ma prend pas de rôle. Oh, qu'est-ce que ça nous est là? Et puis pour nous passer dans une série de côté que un building qui crase tout bagage, on dit oh, dans un choc, je ne jamais penser Amérique c'est bien bagaille ça. Donc, c'est une question de perspective. Soit regarder Haïti, ou bien regarder l'Amérique, c'est une question de perspective. Si vous voulez détester Haïti, vous pouvez détester. Mais vous pouvez détester parce que vous voulez rester sous nos faussetés. Parce que le pays a un pile beauté là-dedans. Je ne vais pas parler de Belleville, Pétionville, mais aller visiter le paysage Haïti. Je suis plus côté avec Timoun, aller dans la mer, visiter le paysage. C'est une belle bagaille. C'est une belle bagaille. Le pays est encore un beau pays.
All right, let's put our hands together for our panelists. For those of you who speak English, I just want to add in. So their eyes fell upon the people that were struggling. And they started putting their hands up. Merci Seigneur, de ce que vous délivré moi, le zone ça. But maybe because I was born in the United States and I knew I could go back home, right? When I got there, I started looking at corn. There was a little beach in the back, right? We went to this place called Tirivia, and then in Tirivia in the south, there's water along the coast. It's not until, parce que pour moi, the beach, plage, I was going to go run and swim in the water. Because it was so beautiful for me, right? Because I didn't understand the misery. And because I didn't understand the misery, it was beautiful to me. It's not until I saw somebody, pendant ma bétérate, moi, sous moi, moi, courir, rentrer dans l'eau. Il y a un monde qui dit, hé, quel garçon! Comment voilà? Moi-même avec l'autre jeune garçon qui est avec moi, à courir Albert, je dis, zone ça, il pas même, zone a changé. It's not the same way it was 30 years ago. Et puis il dit, nous demandons des questions, qui ont changé, c'est dans la mer, nous parlons bien, pour ça nous parlons bien dans la mer. Il dit, où est tout petit caille qui sous bord la mer? C'est pas caillou, non? There were bathrooms. There were bathrooms that were lined up. Everybody built their little bathroom because they know how to leave sous terre. So they go to the bathroom, the water comes and just grabs everything and pushes out. But for me, remember, right? It's the misery that causes you not to see the beauty. Because the first thing my eyes fell upon is what? The beauty of it, right? So I think sometimes the kids that they hear about the misery so much. That's all they hear, and they lose the beauty. But because Haiti's a beautiful country.
Mais ça c'est sister. Ok. C'est là où tu dis the Creole is a dying language. I disagree. I thought otherwise. Parce que créole là était plus une langue qui était à part. Bien qu'un pile monde te parle, mais il pas en langue internationale. Parce que il pas encore officiel. Mais quand il y a créole là, il parle dans le parlement, il parle dans le côté, il parle de tout côté, il parle même dans le palais national. C'est-à-dire qu'il y a bien plus de valeur qu'auparavant. Et d'autant plus que parfois même, quand il y a là, tout pays qui constitue Caraïbes, et bien tout pays, ça, quand il y a au contraire, il va battre pour rentrer que le créole là dans la langue officielle Caraïbe là. Et ça, c'est, il prend valeur. Et quand il y a là, au Kenneth Merton, qui c'est un gros diplomate américain qui est dans ce département, il parle créole là plus rapide passer haïtien. En pile gros diplomate à pas apprendre créole qu'on y a, parce que Caraïbe là, il prend valeur et Caraïbe là, il commence à parler créole là en pile. Et grand pile bagaille, il y a une académie, grand pile bagaille qui créole là. Et sous j'entendais, sous tant de qui compte faire bon discours, bon poème, comment bon président créole. M'pas tu as perdu tout, mais comme faut bien quand même. Donc la son qui doux, qui gagne pile l'importance. Cependant, comme frère Waniso dit, par le fait que sous tout bagay la ka ou valeur, pas que monde ou diminuer tout bagay la ka ou pas ba valeur, pas que monde qui va bailler valeur. Et j'ai l'impression c'est parce que tout monde yo diminue, yo dévaloriser tout bagay qui en Haïti. Et j'ai l'impression c'est ça que fait Timon yo tout. Yo distancié, yo manqué apprécier ça qui est en Haïti.
Okay, very good. I know you guys don't want to respond to it, but okay.
Ok, bonsoir. On félicite nous peut-être nous pencher dans l'école, nous ingénieurs, et on félicite peut-être nous, c'est bon Dieu qui nous servi. Question que je me poser nous chaque qui là, mais si sont celles réponse nous chaque nous qui va et nous-mêmes Haïti, nous-mêmes Haïtiens, nous avons une éducation. Ça influence non seulement culture, nous, il influence entourage, nous, il influence comment nous les vêtements, nous, il influence tout le bagage. Nous-mêmes qui étudions ici, qui ça nous est comme solution nous apporter pour nous souffrir dans l'intérieur là. Bon, c'est la réponse pour chacun.
Pretty clip. Can you translate it for us too? I wasn't paying attention. Being honest.
I think my brother asked for those of us who are educated in the U.S., what can we do to help solve the problems that we have in Haiti, education problem or other problems? You cap the question? Yeah, I guess since I started, I think what I did not learn earlier on, and I wish I did learn it when I was much younger, and I think this is where the gospel comes into to function really in our goal and in our lives. It's really, we're not called in to be great on earth, to be great people, great this, great that. God saved us and God equipped us so that we can better work in His field and touch lives and impact other lives. We have the opportunity, and I'm speaking most for our young people that are raised here. We have the opportunity to go to school, to learn, to acquire as much as you can in terms of resources, education, and so on. Not because you need to be a great person, but if you are convicted by the gospel of Jesus Christ, then you are called to reach out. What better opportunity do you have to reach out in Haiti? I wish I had started much earlier in my life when I was still in my 20s and 30s and so on, to actually go and see what I can do in Haiti. I wish I could. So I'm really sending this out there to our young people. Learn as much, make money, whatever, God opens the door. But go help in Haiti because you can. You have a root, you have a bridge through your parents to do that. And there's a field, that's right for workers like you that can help out in Haiti. So I really want to encourage you to go back and see what you can do to help. And God will bless you tremendously. Amen.
And I think overall too, when we talk to even kids at a young age, we kind of have to stop asking them what kind of job do you want when you get older. I think a more important question should be what do you want to change in the world when you get older? Because when you ask what kind of job you want when you get older, you kind of try to put a monetary value to the education that you get. And so instead there's a lack of genuine passion for what you're doing in school, and you try to just worry about getting a job. So I think once that changes and you actually find a way to use your education as opposed to thinking of it as a piece of paper in a job application, a lot of things in the world will change. Because I think, and it's not just Haitian culture or American culture, it's worldwide. We don't understand the difference between being educated and having an education. So it's two different things.
Good answer.
I feel lost. Mon sentiment que j'en perds du sens question. Il fait me parler, il faut me pas d'accord, son bataille éclaircie pour moi. Son modèle en sorte.
L'orgue connaissance sont lumière liée. L'on va penser, on va réfléchir, on va compter sur l'oublier. Il va ignorer la lecture, il va intérêt pour réfléchir à l'oublier. Face aux bonnes éducation, qui solution qu'on va apporter pour eux?
Au moins, nous-mêmes, quand nous ici, qui ça nous va faire ça.
Ça nous fait bien ce que nous faisons ici, et qui s'en apporter pour eux, comme solution, comme backup pour nous sortir dans l'état que nous avons.
connaît à travers les années passées, et depuis après, cyclone, whatever, ça passe à Haïti, parce que Haïti a subsisté à cause de l'aide internationale. Parce que le problème, c'est que le peuple haïtien a besoin de changer de mentalité. Il y a un pile de bagages à faire en tant que peuple dans le temps, c'est parce que ils n'ont pas changé de mentalité. Que chaque monde qui passe sur le pouvoir, intérêt peuple là, pas là. Chaque monde qui dit au grand morceau, et puis il y a un bon plan pour y aller. Parce que les gens de leur qualité, les gens qui pour faire éducation au peuple là, vraiment, faut que le peuple là, lui-même soucieux, les gens qui sont en charge, les soucieux, les gens qui sont dans le département d'État, soucieux que le peuple a besoin de faire éducation. À part tout ça qui est passé dans le pays politiquement, moi-même, dans le pays, je sens que c'est une période de paix et de joie, je suis fier. Les gens qui sont dans l'école, même avec nous, ne pas jouer avec nous. Et dans l'école, nous apprendre, nous comprendre. Et nous sentons qu'on y a là, même dans le domaine de l'éducation, tout le monde souffre. Et ça fait que tu as dit ça tout à l'heure, en commencement, peut-être que les gens qui parlent côté de la sortie, peut-être comprendre côté de la sortie, c'est parce que si on a élevé Kounia, lorsqu'on parle avec nous-mêmes, quand nous sentons qu'on écrit nous en lettres, nous sentons son offense. Parce que nous parlons côté au sorti, côté au bralé. Il y a un bagage qui a besoin de gérer en deux pays. Et pour le peuple là, lui-même servir, mon Dieu, pour mon Dieu, la lumière, et que pour le monde qui est en charge, pour nous prier, pour mon Dieu, changer de cœur, pour le pays, pour le pays.
She doesn't want you to answer, so she wants everybody else to answer. She knows how you're going to answer.
I think, and I'm not sure to say this off the back, I'm not even sure if everybody in the room is going to agree with me, but I'm going to say it because I believe it's true. I don't think the way to keep our Haitian pride is to only marry Haitians. I don't think we even need to encourage our kids only marry Haitians, because I believe above all else that we're Christians first anyway. And if I believe that they're Christians in other cultures, then that shouldn't be an issue. However, as somebody who believes nobody can tell me otherwise if that's what God has for me, because I believe my culture is something that's so important, whoever this person is going to be has to be somebody that understands my culture is important. If he's white, if he's African American, if he's Asian, your culture is important too, but this is my culture, and you have to, it couldn't even be anything more than a conversation if at the very beginning you don't understand that my culture is important to me. Still faire un monde qui veut avec un Américain, bien Africain Américain, anything else, faut vous comprendre culture sont bagages qui important to me. Même le bagage toute langue, the culture is important to me. And even if I can't teach my kids all of the Creole, my parents will be helping me, my church family will be helping me. So it's going to be something that we are together instilling in my kids. And if he really loves you, or if you're a guy married an American, if they really care about you, they'll embrace the culture as well.
Because that person, if they love you, they have to value your culture. If he values your culture, you will be able to share it. You will share his, and he will share yours. And in the meantime, before you have kids, and when the children come, how do you compute those interracial people who get married between different races, the Jews versus the American, the black versus the Jew? But they have a challenge. What I say is, if God puts you in that position, the only thing I can say, marriage is difficult, but when you are an interracial, interculture, it's more difficult. Because you have more job to do. But at least you still can do it. I believe if you pray, you ask God guidance, and you share with that person, and they know it's important, you embrace it. If you embrace it now, and then when someone comes, you're not going to give it up. You're not going to say, I'm not eating rice and beans. You're going to cook rice and beans.
Sister Michelle, I'm going to share this with you too, because there are a lot of folks that have married folks outside of the Haitian culture. And what they share with me, right? What they share with me, the ladies that have married someone that's not Haitian, right? Because I don't want to say it's white, American, it's just someone that's not Haitian. One thing you'll notice early on in a relationship is whether they begin to embrace your culture. And they've shared with me the food, right? You'll find if it's a young man that you are dating, you'll find that the way he embraces your parents when they're speaking Creole, wanting to learn the language, give me a few words so I can connect with your parents. Or how they feel about the food, right? How they feel about when you bring them to a church, if you attend a Haitian-speaking church, a Creole-speaking church, you bring them to the church, how they feel within the church. If you notice that they are uncomfortable, and you will see it today because those who have walked away from relationships where they found that culture was going to become a big issue, they would tell you that they never embraced my Haiti.
Even before you get married.
Il y a un pile monde qui est à Haïti, actuellement, il n'y a pas de chambre dans la vie d'Haïti, non? Il n'y a pas de chambre dans la vie d'Haïti. La vie visiter, il n'y a pas de la vie d'Haïti. N'importe genre, il n'y a pas de la vie d'Haïti. Donc, en pile fois, les parents qui viennent ici, ça dépend de qui zone ils sortent. Au moins, ils étaient venus très jeunes, il faut qu'on explore. Il tourne à Haïti avec nous, il va dire choix, il va prendre l'autre côté, là, les côtés. C'est sa vision, ouais. Si côté ça, ouais, on pense que c'est le cas ici. Mais Haïti, il y a un paquet de côtés là-dedans, tu vois, il y a dans le sud, ou aller dans la zone 4 ou aller des côtés dans le nord, ou aller, ou aller éblouir. Haïti, comme c'est ça, Haïti, tout naturel. Ici, son pays fabriqué, il n'est pas belle, il est fabriqué. Mais Haïti naturel, fléau naturel, tout bagage naturel, c'est là pour la mer naturelle. Ok? Et puis, manger tout naturel, organique. Et puis, non pas pour nous regarder nous tout qui là, qui jeunes. Nous tout qui là, qui jeunes. C'est ça beauté Haïti. Beauté par nous. Parce que par nous, valoriser ça l'éducation. Malgré qu'il n'y a pas d'éducation, mais le travail dur, livré pour finir à collège. Et si nous regardons aux environs de nous-mêmes, on nous aller quelque côté dans nous là, il a dit nous, retirer haïtien, mettez-nous dans la zone ça, si nous avons aidé, si nous avons d'accord pour nous aider. Ça veut dire que nous avons des fausses vrai, nous avons qui pas bon dans nous-mêmes, mais nous avons ça pas bon, ça bon plus. Parce que c'est ça que vous devez qu'il y ait culture haïtienne pour capable d'installer la petite tout. Pour décider de l'orgue petit tout pour montrer l'éducation qui est importante. Les filles, nous aimons clean, nous aimons propre. Haïtien a les petites filles, les petites filles propres, sentis bon. Malgré ces quelques Haïtiens qui ne doivent pas faire ça, mais la majorité de nous qui l'église, nous, maman, nous, papa, nous levons, nous, et pas nous, paquet de cheveux dans la tête, nous, derrière, pantalon, nous, sous derrière, on peut nous marcher, nous sentir tabac. Non, nous pas faire ça. Haïtiens, livrés, vous les matins, petites levées, bouche les brosser, les chelbel, les protocoles, pour aller, les chelbel. Ça y est, et pour me finir, si nous faisons une investigation, allez dans l'Issorange, allez dans Noura, allez dans Eventon, là tout office en pile noir qui travaille qui a un gros métier, c'est haïtien, c'est ça me nous. La investigation, quand ils ont montré les petits mots, ils ne sont pas dire c'est haïtien.
Well, there's a little joke. I'm not gonna give names or whatever. I remember I was on the campus of NJIT. This young person started also with me, and I will not name names, but anyway. And another person did not want to speak Creole. And I was one time, I saw him passing by, and I yelled. I said, "So-and-so, sac passing!" Yeah, but I'm not going to call the name. But anyway, but you do have this problem. You do have this problem, people for themselves. People who are Haitian don't want to know they are Haitian. It's an identity issue. It's a confidence issue. Let me tell you one thing. Your confidence has to be in what God has given to you, in what you are, what God will make of you. Not because there's something that is somewhat lackluster in your past, or that people think about you or about where you come from that's not so great, or whatever. Because what you can bring, when you achieve something that's great in your life, let me tell you why they forgot where you came from. So what you need to do is focus on what you can do. If you do not accept your identity in terms of where you come from, your birth, culture, and so on, let me tell you one thing, you will have some struggle that will be self-imposed in your life. You gotta feel free enough to be able to say, this is my culture. That's who I am. I embrace it, and I'm going to use it as a stepping stone, as a springboard from which to propel to wherever height God has called me to reach. That's what you need to do.
And I can piggyback off of that one, if that's okay. I grew up at West Orange High School, where in the beginning it's scary to be Haitian. It's like, oh my gosh, you're Haitian. But if you're not confident to say where you're from, just like Brother Duclair said, you're not going to go far with it. At one point, we had Haitian Flag Day, and I don't know anyone who went to West Orange High School, but there was a point where we had Haitian Flag Day, and even if you were not Haitian, people were wearing the Haitian flag, because it was just like a big thing, like, oh my gosh, you're Haitian, I want to be Haitian too. Like, if you're not confident in it, then you're not going to go far with it. So if you're not confident to say, I am, my mother and my father is Haitian, I am a Haitian American, and I speak Creole, you know, if you're not confident in it, then you're always going to struggle with being Haitian. And if you're looking at what you see, you're looking at how people say Haiti is, and you're afraid to say that you're Haitian, there's a whole bunch of other things that you're going to, you know, go through in the world where you got to, you know, you're black also. You're also black. So if someone says, oh, all people from, you know, Newark or whatever are bad, you got to be able to stand up for yourself and what you are. If you're Haitian, you're Haitian. If you're black, you're black. You got to be able to stand up for what you are.
Okay. Do you have any other questions?
Like, nous te dit au commencement, et ça retourne sur parents yo, embrasser culture depuis non petit, pour nous bâtir your self-esteem. When you don't, if you don't know where you came from, you can't know where you're going. That goes in every aspect. Sous haïtien, ou pas qu'à faire pour dire c'est haïtien. Sous réalité dans bracket ça, you can change it. Change the cycle. How do you change it? By being more confident, by doing some research. So, chaque fois peuple faut haïtien, parce que par contre ça gagne en Haïti. So go find out, and when someone asks you a question, you can answer. Et de vous qu'à answer ou réduire moun au silence. Moi même pas donc je suis juste pas en travail. I'm not Haitian to say okay, I'm Haitian, and then I pause. I'm getting reaction. Maybe I'm Christian, I'm Asian, and then souvent by bien argument enough to go further pour réduire en silence. So you're the youth, you better look for your country, research the value of your country. Si vous ne pouvez pas faire non petit ou même faire peut-être pas. Because no matter what, you are Asian, you can change that.
I have a question. So my question is, for us that was born in America, right? In the beginning, everybody was saying that they were going to try to keep their culture, embrace their culture, make sure their kids know Creole. For a lot of you, you guys don't know, I give the joke all the time to my friends. I was born here. I've never been to Haiti a day in my life, and I went through ESL. See, I went through ESL because my grandparents had me in Princeton. My parents only took me back when it was time to go to elementary school. So I get the whole understanding Creole, and I speak Creole. Everybody always guys speak Creole so well. And unlike Michelle was saying, the American, and a lot of people know my sister married an African, so there's going to be their own culture issue when they have their kids, right? But I married a Haitian, born and raised in Haiti, but who did his schooling in America. So we speak English all the time in the house. We have 2 kids. The only word they know in Creole is salon. Because I always say, but we go to a Haitian church, they hear the Creole, but they still haven't embraced the culture. They know they're Haitian, they love rice. So my question to you is, when GP and I speak Creole, it's only because we're speaking something we don't want the kids to listen or understand. Realistically, how are we supposed to keep the Creole going and the Creole culture going and teaching our kids Creole if we don't speak it? I go to a Haitian church, the kids go to children's ministry, they sing 2-3 songs in Creole, but even us, we sing the songs. I grew up a lot of times, I sang the songs because it's repetition. I didn't know what the song meant. So that's my question to you, that how are we really going to keep the culture going?
I remember a time when I was maybe in middle school, maybe even early high school, for some reason I couldn't understand the Creole. I would be sitting in service and I couldn't understand Creole. And I'm wondering, why do I have to be here? I don't know what they're saying. I thank God that I have a great relationship with my grandma. My grandma, who Queen Tawel Souvent, here in the church, but we see my grandma at least once a week. So I speak Creole with my grandmother regularly. God has put people in my life where I've developed a desire to develop the language. I want to understand it better. I want to speak it better. If we're being honest, it's a hard thing to force a kid to do. We say the Payons do it. Payon yo fait tout le monde comprend espagnol. But if we do it the way that they do it, sometimes it hurts the kids. Because I've worked with kids in school. I've gone to school with kids from Spanish-speaking countries, and the kids don't do well in school. Because it's great that they have their Spanish language, our parents speak Spanish at home, but in American English-speaking school, a lot of them don't do well. So I would not say that that's the solution. I would say the solution is develop a desire, a love for country, a love for culture. Because even if I don't force my kids to learn it, even if it doesn't work, at the very least, the older you get, you're going to want to. I'm going to teach you that it is a beautiful thing to know. You're going to want to do it. And you will already have all of the resources available. We're not going to have to go find a relative who come sit with my kid and teach them Creole. We'll already have all of the resources around us. And then that's just going to be something that the child, when they come of age, they tap into themselves. But it's not going to be that they don't know it because of me. They're going to have it accessible to them.
That's very good. I appreciate your answer. I'd like to add a little bit to it. I really believe culture, language, Creole for us is very, very, very important. But I will say also that it is not primary. Okay? It's not primary. Creole est important, mais n'est pas lui-même qui réellement plus important dans toute bagaille. On va m'expliquer. Dans l'église, monsieur, m'entendez sa sœur, moi, dit ce qu'elle dit, et bien, cousin, moi, passé l'église dans tout, les gens, ils entendent Créole, ils disent, je ne comprends pas ça du tout, tant que je ne vais jamais arriver dans l'église américaine, côté que ils enseignent ça en anglais pour nous comprendre. Je ne vais jamais comprendre l'église. Donc, c'est mes problèmes là. C'est que, quand nous enseignons le créole, c'est important pour nous faire, mais comprendre tout que, premier bagage, si nous devons comprendre, pour loi penser, il faut que nous éduquer. Donc, l'église, par exemple, premièrement, l'église est pour nous enseigner les gens, pour nous comprendre l'évangile dans le sens pâle, pour être capable de gagner compréhension ça qui pour aider les deux. Ce n'est pas seulement balayer en créole, et puis dire que les gens comprennent le réciter verset, mais est-ce que vous comprenez? Pour nous mettre en face, pour make sure que ils comprennent. Deuxièmement, tout, même dans la caille en tout, certainement créole là, il est important pour nous enseigner. Mais pour les bagages, il faut nous make sure que les gens a été éduqués. Si on ne pas prend, parce que les gens qui ont des difficultés de langage, ils ne sont pas capables de prendre tous les deux langages ensemble vraiment, et nous vivons dans l'Amérique. Donc, créole, ce n'est pas obligé pour lui venir première langue Timoun, il n'est pas obligatoire. Parce qu'il faut que nous pensions avec l'éducation Timoun, dans l'école, tout. Même gens spirituellement, il faut apprendre, éducation, il faut apprendre tout. On a dit, faire ça avant, sans négliger créole.
Okay. Any other questions?
Technology, the use of gadgets. It seems that the kids spend more time on the gadgets than with their parents, talking with their parents. How do we incorporate that in good parenting? That's the father.
On voit les gadgets. Qui vous qui a acheté les gadgets?
I guess I feel like at times we try to make like technology like this problem with like the youth, but like keep it real, like I'll be walking through first service and I just see a lot of grown-ups just on their phone too. So like, I don't think it's a problem that we have to make like one-sided. I think we need to accept the fact that like technology as a whole is a problem. Like it's great, like it's a great thing. Like it allows us to do like a lot of amazing things that we have in today's generation. But it's also like bad when we let it like control everything that we do. When we let it be our outlet for a lot of things. So I think it's also like a part on like the parents too, in terms of like establishing certain things, like creating almost like a culture within your household where you have that time where you bond, and not make it like every Wednesday at 7, this is what we're gonna do. Like make it genuine. Like if you have an idea, like or you wanted to watch a movie, like all right, you guys, let's go out. Like there's a whole world outside like the 4 walls that we have in our homes. So I think it's like, I think part of it too is like sometimes like in Haitian like households, like we don't try to adapt. Like we don't like try to be a part of the world that's like outside. And by like being part of the world, I don't mean like, you know, let's just be sinners, like not in a biblical sense, but just be part of the world, like you're a human being at the end of the day too. So like don't limit yourself to like your living room and that's it because you don't want to feel a part of like America because you don't feel comfortable. Sometimes you have to get comfortable.
Commencer à faire, which is a bad habit, right? Parce que le t'as grandi ici et ou même tout t'as grandi en Haïti, dans l'église et you weren't paying attention, right? You had ADD or you just what they were talking about. The sermon didn't even grab your attention. And as a child, 5, 6, 7 years old, for the first 5 minutes, if it's nothing that's pertaining to you, you just start zoning off, right?
At the church, we'll have people coming here. Donc, Simon qui est capable de venir, qui va migrer, qui va avec Simon, at least they will rencontrer avec you. Ils capable de communiquer avec Simon, vrai? Parce que si Simon, bien content, as a matter of fact, I'm so happy that the youth now has the partner that's leading the work. Of course, c'est Colin qui est en charge, Kelly qui est en charge, parce que là, Simon, ils sont capables de venir en Haïti, nous pas besoin d'un paquet de créole, mais au moins, nous sommes capables de communiquer avec eux. Dis hi avec eux. Vous comprenez? Parce que tant qu'on est l'église, nous supposons capables de venir, nous capables de jouer, nous capables de communiquer avec eux, nous capables de monter sur eux comme ça, au moins, nous capables de parler avec eux. That's what I want to say. Et puis, nous aussi, comme ça en Haïti, nous sommes capables de demander parents, nous, maman, nous, ma tante, nous, est-ce que nous sommes capables d'aider? Est-ce que nous sommes capables de sponsor? Il y a un petit monde en Haïti pour capable faire aller l'école. Parce que quand pile d'enfants, mais nous, qui pas qu'à payer l'école. Nous sommes capables de faire façon ça. Nous ne pouvons pas prendre président, nous ne pouvons pas prendre place ministre, si possible, Dieu soit loué, mais cependant, nous sommes capables d'aider l'enfant sur ça. Des parents, nous, est-ce que nous sommes capables d'aider? Nous ne pouvons pas continuer pour qu'on ait, nous sommes capables d'aider, at least, nous sommes capables de payer l'école.
Yeah, Sergi Stud as well. Put our hands together for her. She put the pictures up together today, which is awesome. So thank you. I'm going to hand over to Sister Carlene that's going to wrap up and let us know that you see Jerry because we want you all to come out with. We need you all to come out.
Thank you for this service, and I thank you for this evening, for the weather, Father God, for allowing us to make it out in spite of the weather. I thank you for holding back what could have been worse. I thank you for everybody that was here tonight. I pray, God, that we don't just talk for discussion's sake, that we don't just meet for event's sake, oh Lord, but every time it is that we get a chance to talk with each other, that we would be listening to each other, and that everything that we do would produce fruit because you have charged us to love. Father God, I pray that we would only begin our conversation, that we would go home, we would talk again later tonight, that we would talk again tomorrow, and that we would keep talking, oh Lord, Father God, and talking that would lead to action, oh Lord God, so that you would be glorified in the way that we show your love. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Que grâce bon Dieu, faveur lui, bénédiction nous capable d'accompagner nous dans tout ça nous gagnons pour le faire et que la vie nous capable toujours refléter combien bon Dieu est bon, combien bon Dieu est grand, combien bon Dieu est fidèle, combien bon Dieu a compassion, combien bon Dieu a amour et que bénédiction lui était sous nous depuis qu'on est là.